Okay, Dan. I'm a new convert to your Pogo tribe and all of that, but I gotta say this latest bit about dropping out of university and your comments on higher education. Well, I'm sympathetic um, to your idea that your experience has been nothing but having to regurgitate information that's been lectured on. I think you're off on the wrong track. Speaking as someone who did drop out of university and went back and finished, um, a couple of things. I'm not sure what discipline it was that you were studying at university. I was an arts graduate eventually, and my first few years may be a little bit similar to yours. I didn't like the idea that I had to parrot the facts, you know, garbage in, garbage out, and all that. But after a couple of years out of school, before I went back, I realized that what they were really teaching me wasn't the facts. Because the facts, and I went to school before the internet. I, I am that old. Um, Before the internet, we had this thing called libraries where you could go and look things up in these things called books. I know, ancient concept. But the thing is, that monopoly on information has always been a false thing. People who've got an education don't have a monopoly on facts. What people who have an education have is training in how to think, and that's where your argument falls down, because what people are going through higher education for is not what you think it is. It's not parroting facts. If that's all it was, then yes, the internet's there for you, and uh, and that's great. But if you're a physicist, do you really need to have to Google the Newton's laws of motion every time you do a problem? No, you need to know those facts to do your job as a physicist. As I say, I was an arts graduate. I studied history, I studied English literature, political science, and it's not the facts that I took with me. It's the ability to reason, the ability to make an argument. That's what those essays were all about. The professor didn't really care whether I could remember, which states Nixon won in 68. What he wanted to know was, could I argue a point cogently? Could I make that logical chain of argument? And that's what an education is about, learning how to think, not memorizing facts. If all you're getting from it is memorizing facts, then it might be better that you aren't in university now. Maybe you need a few years to realize what is important about an education. Any idiot can memorize facts. A parrot, not a parent, a parrot can do that. The other thing you learn in a university, it's not just a matter of learning to think, although this is part of it. And this also goes to the idea of the internet as the fount of all knowledge. There's a lot of information on the internet, but a very large proportion of it is absolute bullshit. And one of the things that a proper education in critical thinking, logical reasoning is going to give you is the ability to separate the bullshit from the real information on the internet. Something to think about, Dan. Love your stuff, but I think you're off base on this one.